Welcome to the ETFinalScore.com preview show. It's here, Week 10, and the end of the regular season of Texas high school football. I'm Trevor Pill, and with me, like all season long, is Travis Yosting and Chris Perry. Playoffs are just around the corner, and this week around East Texas, games can be played like it's a playoff game because teams need an extra push to keep their season alive. Before we get to this week, let's talk a little about last week. Now, Travis, JT went to Jacksonville. It was a lopsided game. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it was a little disappointing that Jacksonville was without their quarterback, Carter McCown. You know, that kind of put a damper on things, but JT took full advantage, and they did it with defense and offense and really kind of dominated from the start.
What did you think was going through your head whenever Jacksonville came out and they scored quick?
Yeah, you know, they got a big kickoff return, and Coach Rickland Holmes was not happy about that. But Datavian Thacker got him in field position, and they converted. And after that, though, Jacksonville's offense just couldn't get anything going. Now,
like I said, it was a lopsided game. JT just stole the show with that one. But Bryson Smith came in at quarterback again, didn't throw very many passes, maybe one or two, had a huge touchdown run. It looks like John Tyler is pretty well off if something does happen to Gio at the quarterback position.
Yeah, you know, they were just kind of resting Gio. You know, he got a little banged up in the Ennis game, and getting a sophomore Bryson Smith some playing time is always good because you never know what could happen, but also it shows that they're set up well for the future.
Awesome. And then Chris, Robert E. Lee played Rockwall. They put up a big fight, but it just wasn't enough.
Rockwall's running back, Chris Warren, was just too much. He was just too much to contain. He finished with a record-breaking 472 yards rushing, which just is insane. 6 touchdowns, just a terrific effort. Robert Lee's offense, as always, brought it as much as they possibly could. It just kind of at the end, they had one turnover that they couldn't afford to have in the second half. The only turnover they had in the whole game, and that was kind of the difference. It was kind of like a 7-on-7 game. Who had the ball last, and that one turnover that gave Rockwall kind of a 2-touchdown advantage, and they were able to hold off Lee at the end.
Now you're telling us that Lee's offense has been clicking very good so far. Tell us a little bit about their offense.
Well, it all starts with Zach Hall at the quarterback position, who's a dynamic runner and a passer. Ijuan Barker, who's a junior wide receiver, has been making plays. And they've got loads of skill position guys at wide receiver and at running back, and all of them can go to the house at any time. Tyrick Grayson is extremely fast. We did a feature about him and Mason Parker. They're 2 little slot receiver guys, and those guys are very, 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 very dynamic. So it just gives them a wide range of weapons to choose from. Defensively, they're going to have to be counted on this week. They can't afford to be giving up that many rushing yards and that many touchdowns against another very good running back that Naaman Forrest has.
Now, playing a very good team like Rockwall and putting up as many points as they did, is that something that Lee can kind of carry over into this week?
I believe so. They're going to be very confident on offense and defense. They're going to want to come back and show that was not the defense that they want to play and that they can play. They want to show that they're a much better defensive unit.
And we'll talk a little more about Lee later on in the show, who do have a Thursday night game. Now, just a quick take from both of you. Did you really think that Lufkin was going to travel to Corsicana and just shut them out?
Yeah, it's a long road trip for sure, but you look at the just the size of the two teams. Corsicana's got a young team, not too much size. Lufkin, you know, they've been in 5A before. You know, they're a bigger team, and I think that's kind of what happened.
What did you think? Corsicana went 169 games before they were shut out, and it happened.
Well, Lufkin is not your typical 4A, which is now a 5A high school. Mm-hmm. They've been playing big boys for a long time. So, I mean, no offense, when they see Corsicana, Lindale, Jacksonville, things like that on the schedule, they're coming. They don't care if it's on the road or at home. They're going to expect to win and win comfortably. Now, a shutout, that's difficult to do, especially on the road. But I think the Lufkin Panthers are showing that they're going to be a team to be counted upon in playoffs. And, of course, now they get Longview in the first round.
Again, Lufkin just shut out Corsicana, and that was Corsicana's first shutout in 169 games since 2000, and the last team to shut them out actually was Tyler Lee. Now let's head over to our TAP schools. You know, they all traveled to the Metroplex this past week. The only team that lost was All Saints against Dallas Christian, which, you know, y'all kind of said in the last show, you kind of saw that coming. But let's talk about this week. You know, all 4 teams play each other this week in the last one. The first game we have is All Saints at Brook Hill. What do you think is going to come of that game?
You know, I think Brook Hill wants a little momentum going into the playoffs. They want to make sure they get at least tied for the top spot in the district. I think they've kind of got what it takes to pull out the win.
What do you think about this All Saints Brook Hill game?
Well, I echo what Travis said. It's a chance to make a 3-way tie for first place in the district as long as Brook Hill takes care of business against its area rival, All Saints. And honestly, they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to score quite a bit of points because this could come down to a point tiebreaker. So Brook Hill's going to be really trying to score quite a bit of points in this ball game. I mean, Tress, what do you think? Basically, all three of these teams have a huge opportunity. Do you feel that Grace is going to be the team that takes it?
Yeah, last time there was a three-way tie, Grace was one that went into the playoffs with the top seed. So they're going to be eyeing that again. But they've got a big, tough battle against rival Bishop Gorman.
Yeah, they do. The ICB Live game of the week is actually TK Gorman at Grace. You've got a 4-2 team and a 5-1 team in district going at it. What is your take on this game?
Yeah, it's going to be a great battle. Grace is usually known for their offense, and their offense is flying high right now, but their defense has been phenomenal this year, and it's going to need to step up to slow down Kobe Gibson's Gorman offense.
Again, a 4-game winning streak. What do you say on this?
Well, what Travis said, the Bishop Gorman's offense has been very, very high explosive, and Grace has been able to shut teams down. Brook Hill, it's amazing what they did to Brook Hill in the second half of that football game. No one has come close to doing that against the Garden, and against Dallas Christian, they had them right there at the very end. So I believe Grace has just got too much in this ball game.
We'll have to check that out. Again, the ICB game live, ICB game of the week. Actually, you can go to ETFinalScore.com, click on the videos tab, and the game will be right there at 7 p.m. Let's head to one of our sponsors. When we return, let's talk some more area football and also some playoffs.
At Kelly Community Federal Credit Union, we have a monopoly on savings. So cruise on over to a Kelly Community branch today for big savings on loan rates and better earnings on deposits and investments.
At Kelly Community.
Welcome back to the preview show. I'm Trevor Pill with Chris Perry and Travis Yosting. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on this week. Now, Chris, you got a Thursday night game with the Robert E. Lee Red Raiders taking on Naaman Forest Rangers. What can you tell us a little bit about Naaman Forest?
They like to run the football. Mike Nelson, I'm looking right here. He's got, as we check it out just to make sure, 1,667 yards rushing and 20 touchdowns. So they're going to run the ball. And that has been Robert E. Lee's, that's what Robert E. Lee has struggled with stopping the last couple weeks. So personally, I see Nelson getting his. I just don't think he's going to get enough points. I don't think Naaman Forest is going to have enough offense to be able to stay with Robert E. Lee in this football game.
And then also, you're saying that Robert E. Lee is probably prepared enough to take on Naaman Forest?
Oh yeah, I personally see this as being at least a 21-point victory for the Red Raiders. They want to try to get ahead, jump ahead, put Naaman Forest down quickly so they can, because Naaman Forest only has one victory. So you don't want to give a team at home in their final game on senior night any type of confidence. You want to try to put them down quickly. And Naaman Forest, they'd love to play spoiler, but I see Robert E. Lee taking care of this. And if they do, that opens them up for an opportunity to make the postseason. It all depends on what happens between Garland Saxe and Garland Rowlett.
So is that the playoff implications? They have to win, and then Saxe has to lose?
Yes. And I was talking to Coach Daryl Piskey, thinking, well, what do you think? I mean, Saxe really is not going to. Rowlett's really not going to gain anything by winning this game seeding-wise. What's going to happen? And he likened this game to John Tyler against Robert E. Lee. These two teams don't like each other. It's called the Battle of the Bridge. And he said, well, what do you think, Chris? Do you think that Robert E. Lee would lay down and let John Tyler win so they could make the playoffs? Not in a million years. And John Tyler wouldn't do it for Robert E. Lee. So when you look at that, maybe it's time for Robert E. Lee to catch a break and to make the postseason, because Rowlett is going to want to beat their rivals.
Now, you did say at the beginning of the season, Coach Piskey isn't just satisfied with a couple wins being in 6A football. They actually want to make the playoffs. And so what do you think about this Naaman Forest Robert E. Lee game?
I think Lee's got too much offense. I think they'll be able to pull away in the end.
And now let's switch gears over to you, Travis, with John Tyler, senior night, hosting Nacogdoches. How's this matchup looking?
Yeah, it's going to be a good matchup of JT's offense against Nacogdoches' defense. Nacogdoches has probably the best secondary in the state, maybe the nation, the guys they've got back there. And it's going to be a good test for Giavari McCollister. Rickland Holmes said they're not going to back down. They're going to still try to throw at them. They're still going to try to run their game. And it should be a good matchup. And, the one thing is that there's nothing really riding on the game too much, because either way, win or loss, both teams are in the playoffs. Both teams have, clinched their spot and their seeding.
Yeah, what's the seeding looking like for John Tyler? What would they go in as?
JT will go in as the number one seed in Division I. And so that's clinched, that's decided. Ennis is going in as the number one in Division II. then Lufkin Division I, number 2, and then NAC is number 2 in Division II.
Speaking of playoffs, something for both of you real quick to answer. How important do you think it is, if at any, for a team to get a win before going into the playoffs?
For JT, I think it's huge because last year, they were riding high heading into that White House game. They got beat in the last minute, and I think that really affected them. Some of the players even admitted that affected them going into the playoffs. And so if they can keep this going, get a 3-game win streak going after the Ennis loss, I think they'll be much better suited in the playoffs.
What do you think about that, Chris?
I think it depends if you're riding a winning streak or if you're win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. If you lose your last game and you've been seesawing back and forth and you get in as a 3rd or 4th place team, I don't think it really matters. I think you just you put everything, you say, okay, the regular season's over with. It's time to play playoffs. But if you are riding one of those nice long winning streaks and getting knocked off the last game, there could be some effects. And there's some teams like Van, like Gilmer, like Chapel Hill, they're really enjoying nice long winning deals and heading and they want to be in a good positive place come playoff time.
Awesome. Well, we have to check it out. Some of these games will have live highlights on Twitter and Facebook and the ICB Live Game of the Week. Also, let's roll right into our picket line. Both of you last week, you go 3-2, 15-5 overall. Of course, Chapel Hill got beat by Henderson by 23 points. You both picked Chapel Hill. Big Sandy defeating Hawkins, and of course the Tyler Lee Rockwall game. Again, 5 picks, 5 games. Just tell me who you think is going to win. First game, we got Brownsboro at Palestine. Who gets their first district win?
I'm going to go with Palestine.
Yeah, Palestine.
And then we have Carthage at Chapel Hill. Both of them are 3-1 in district.
I think Chapel Hill pulls it out.
This game was supposed to have more meaning if Chapel Hill would have defeated Henderson. This game could have been for a district title. I believe that Chapel Hill is going to win.
Chapel Hill. And then we got Sulphur Springs at Marshall.
This is interesting because Marshall's got a chance to break through and finally make the playoffs. I just think Sulphur Springs has too much.
Yeah, Sulphur Springs.
And then, of course, you, Nacogdoches at John Tyler.
John Tyler.
And then for you, Tyler Lee at Naaman Forest, which is a big game for Tyler Lee.
Lee, and it won't be close.
Lee.
Well, thank you for your picks, guys. That is going to wrap up the ETFinalScore.com preview show. Thanks for joining us today and for Week 10. We hope to see you next week for some playoff action and catch you up on what teams from East Texas are in and who they will be playing. Be sure to catch all the highlights as they happen on Twitter and Facebook this Friday night. That's all we have for you. Enjoy the final week of the regular season.